They lay trembling until morning, unable to close their eyes, unable to forget the floating hand in the jar. And when dawn broke, Eka Udo saved soup as though nothing had happened. She smiled as customers laughed with the women and greeted passersby like a saint. But Inyebong and Sikak knew the truth, and one thing was clear: her pot was not meant for the living alone. Before Eka Udo became the queen of Nkemba Street, she was just a girl from a small village near Ikono. Her name was Ekaite, but people shortened it to Eka. She was born into poverty. Her father was a palm wine tapper, her mother a farmer who hawked gari in the local markets. Eka grew up barefoot, carrying firewood on her head and eating from cracked plates. Yet she was known for her beauty: skin like polished bronze, eyes sharp as a cat's, and a smile that could soften even the harshest heart. But beauty was not enough. By her twenties, she was married to a young farmer, Itudo, who adored her. They had dreamed of building a family, dreams of children running in their compound. But months turned into years, and Ikaodo's home remained silent. In the village, whisper grew louder. Women mock her in the steam, singing songs about the dry tree that cannot bear fruit. Some even spat when she walked past. Her husband's family praised him to take another wife, but he refused, clinging to Ekauto's beauty and gentle voice. Still, the pressure was unrelenting. One night, after a bitter quarrel with her mother-in-law, Itugudo stormed out and never returned. He went to the city, remarried, and left Ekaudo in shame. Alone, mocked, barren, and desperate, Eka decided to leave the village. She traveled to Calabar, a city known for its vibrant food culture, and in whisper, the old woman led her to the back of the compound, where a clergyman sat under a mango tree. She removed the lid, and Eka recoiled at the stench. Inside was milky water, pale and foul. This is Mongba, the water of death, Mama Ekanem whispered. Every corpse dripped. It was in Calabar that fate, or perhaps something darker, led her to Mama Ekanem, an old woman who ran a small smoky buka near the waterside. At first glance, Mama Ekanem was nothing special. Wrinkled skin, toothless smile, and a bent palm. But her food was irresistible. Sailors, traders, and even city chiefs come to her small joint, fighting for plate as though they haven't eaten in years. Eka hungry and homeless, begged the old woman for work. Mama Ekanem studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Then nodded. You have the eyes, she said, the eyes of one who has suffered. Suffering makes the pot sweeter. From that day, Eka became her apprentice. For months, she swept floor, washed dishes, and fetched water. But also watched. She noticed how Mama Ekanem always cooked at night, how she never shop in the open market, and how her calabash never run dry, no matter how much she poured. Finally, one stormy night, Mama Ekanem beckoned her. You want to know why food call people like you want to know why my food call people like bees to honey? The old woman asked. Ikaudua nodded. Mama Ekanem's eyes glamped into the firelight. Because I do not cook for the living alone. The dead also eat from my pot. And when the dead hungry, the living hungry with them. That is the secret of true cooking. Ekaudor trembled but listened. Every corpse drips. Their water is hunger itself. When you stir it into your soup, the hunger of the dead enters the living. No matter how much they eat, they crave more. They will return always. Ikaodo heart pounded, but it is not dangerous, the old man said. Mama Ekanem smiled, her toothless gum glittering. All sweetness carries a price, but the price is not yours to pay. It belongs to the eaters. That night, Eka tasted food cooked with mongba. The flavor was unlike anything she had ever known. Sweet, rich, addictive, her body trembled as warmth spread through her veins, and she understood why men would kill for such taste. Mama Ekanem taught her how to collect the water secretly from mortuaries, how to chant so the spirit of hunger will rise, how to stay without spilling a drop. Eka Udo learned quickly, her pain and bitterness fueling her desire. But one morning, Mama Ekanem did not wake. She had died quickly in her sleep, her face peaceful as though she had joined the ancestors willingly. Eka wept, but she also knew what to do. She packed the black calabash, clay jar, and the chant into her memory and returned to you. By the time she opened her small restaurant on Nkemba Street, she was no longer the barren woman mocked in her village. She was a woman with power, power in her pot. The food became the talk of town. People flocked into her buka. They came men. The women followed, the children begged, and Ecuador smiled, watching them eat, knowing they were born to her forever.
Nkemba Street had never known silence like that morning. The air felt heavy, as if the smoke from Ecuador's kitchen refused to rise. People stood in cluster, whispering, their eyes fixed on the woman in black standing before the buka. Madame Nse, a gaunt widow whose headscarf was tied low over her swollen eyes, trembled as she spoke. You killed my son. Her voice cracked, but it carried enough venom to silence every seasoned pot. All heads turned towards her. Some customers froze with spoon midway. Others slowly pushed their plates aside, their hunger, their hunger dampened. The boy she spoke of, her only son, Akan, had eaten at Ekauda's place just the day before, a strong, healthy apprentice carpenter, but by evening he had collapsed, clutching his stomach, vomiting until he could no longer breathe. By dawn, Akan was gone. His mother stood in front of the Queen of Nkemba Street, her grief sharpened than any knife. Since he ate your food, he never rose again. You put dirt in his mouth. The word hung heavy. Customers shifted uneasily. Their guards drafted to between the widow and a cowdoll. Cowdoll emerged from behind her pot. She looked calm, too calm. Her wrapper was neatly tied, her skin glowing as always. Madam say, may the God comfort you, but do not put your sorrow on me. Your son died because it was his time, not because of my food. The widow's face twisted with rage. She tore out her wrapper, beating her chest. Do not mock me with that tongue of honey. Since when did good food kill the young? Tell me, Ekaudo, what do you put in those pots at night? Murmur grew louder now. I hear she cooks when others are asleep. They say she goes to the market only when the noon is high. My cousin told me he saw her carrying a calabash into the cemetery. The customers who had been eating began to push their plates away. One man spat into the dust as if trying to purge the taste from his mouth. But the cowdoll's voice rose above the murmurs. You think my food kills? Look around you. Have I not fed this town for years? Men leave their wives' pot for mine. Women beg me for recipe. Children lick their fingers until their buns shine. If my food kills, then Nkemba Street would be empty by now. Her words rang bold, but for the first time, her laughter did not carry the same power. Doubt had entered the air, and it was doubt that the widow clung to. She spat on the ground before Ikaodo and raised her two hands to the sky. Let the earth judge between you and me, Ikaodo. If your hands are clean, may the heavens vindicate you, but if not, may you eat the sorrow you have given me. With that curse hanging in the air, she turned and walked away, wailing as neighbor tried to console her. By evening, the story had spread beyond Nkemba Street. It reached the ears of prophets and Ephiop. a fairy preacher who led a small but loud congregation. That night, at his midweek service, he thundered from the pulpit, "My people, beware! Do not put your soul on the table of the dead." The Spirit of the Lord opened my eyes, and I saw a great darkness hovering over a certain kitchen. Many eat there, but they are not eating food. They are partaking in the fellowship of demons. The congregation gasped, but some nodded. They knew exactly whose kitchen he meant. Prophet Anakan slammed his Bible shut and declared, "From today, let no member of this church step foot there. It is a shrine disguised as a restaurant." The next morning, Eka's enemy and others seized the opportunity. They whispered louder, spread rumors faster, and laughed at her from behind their smoky stall. But Eka was not one to cower. She stormed into the police station, her wrapper flipping like a banner of war. "Officer," she told the duty sergeant, "my rivals are jealous of my success. They spread lies, calling me a witch. Even pastors now use my name to stay their folks. I will not accept this slander. I demand justice." The police laughed softly behind their desks. To them, this was village superstition wrapped in city clothes. One inspector, chewing granite, said, "Madam, unless you have proof someone is poisoning your name, we cannot erase rumor. People die every day. Go home and mind your pot." But not everyone dismissed her case. From the back of the room, Inspector Bassey sat quietly, watching, a tall man with sharp eyes and a reputation for digging where others feared. He leaned forward. He had heard the whispers too, about midnight market, calabashes, and apprentices falling sick. Unlike his colleagues, he did not laugh. When Eka left, he turned to the sergeant. "Keep her file open. I want every report about that woman on my desk. Something smells in Nkemba Street, and it's not just Afang soup." That night, as Eka stayed her pot, the street outside was quieter than usual. Fewer customers came. The widow's cry still echoed in many people's ears. The prophet's warning still burned in their minds. But inside her kitchen, the flame roared and her eyes glowed in the firelight. "Let them talk," she muttered. "The pot will always call them back." Yet even she did not notice the figure standing in the shadow across the street. Inspector Bassey, watching, waiting, his eyes fixed on her every move. The night was unusually quiet. Even the crickets seemed to have hushed their chorus, as though the land itself waited to witness something unspeakable. Inspector Bassey sat inside his Bigot 504, parked a few meters from Nkemba Street. He had been watching Eka Buka for weeks, noting her odd movements and the strange timing of her shopping. But tonight, his gut told him something different would happen. At exactly 11:47 p.m., the door of Eka restaurant cracked open. She stepped out, wrapped in a dark wrapper but shiny fainted under the moonlight. Balanced carefully in her hand was a black calabash covered with a piece of red cloth. Her head was unwrapped, and her thick hair glittered with oil. Bassey's heart beat quickly. He lowered himself in his seat, careful not to make a sound. Instead of heading towards the market or the main road, Eka walked briskly through narrow back streets, her footsteps strangely noiseless for a woman carrying something so heavy. She moved as if she knew the shadow, as if the night itself cleared a path for her. Batty slipped out of his car, trailing her at a safe distance. He kept low, his shoes barely grazing the earth. His police training was useful now, but even then a strange chill crawled down his neck. Minutes passed until they reached the outskirts of the city, the Ita mortuary. Its broken signpost swung in the air, and the tall grasses around it bent like mourners bowing their heads. No one dare come out here at night. The place was feared, a land where spirits were said to roam freely. But the Eka walked in boldly, like a queen returning to her throne. Bassey clutched behind an abandoned wheelbarrow. His breathing swallowed. He pulled out a small notebook and pen, then checked the small tape recorder hidden in his pocket. He needed evidence, anything to prove that what he suspected. The heavy mortuary doors groaned as Eka Udo pushed them open. From where he hid, Percy saw the dim yellow light of a hurricane lantern inside. He crept closer until he was peeking through a broken window pane. What he saw froze his blood. Inside, three corpses lay on slab, their pale bodies glistening with water that dripped slowly into the tile floor. The air reeked of chemical and death. Ekaudor placed the calabash on the ground and removed the red cloth. She began to chant in a low, rhythmic tone, words in a dialect that Percy couldn't fully understand. Her voice seemed to echo unnaturally, bouncing off the cold walls as though spirits were repeating after her. Then she did the unthinkable. She moved to the slab where a man's body lay, his chest bare, his eyes half shut in eternal sleep. From beneath him, water dripped steadily, forming a small pool. With calm precision, Caudon knelt, dipping her calabash into the pool and scooped the cup's water as if they were scarce palm wine. Inspector Bassey's stomach clawed. He gripped the wheelbarrow tightly, forcing himself not to scream. His hand trembled as he clicked the recorder on, capturing the sound of her chant and the scrubbing of the calabash and the hollow drip, drip, drip. Hilda raised the calabash to her lips, snuffed it, and smiled with satisfaction. Then she whispered into the stillness, "This is the water of hunger. With it, no man who eats my food shall ever be full." They shall return again and again until their pockets are empty and their soul weak. This is the covenant of my pot. Percy nearly dropped his pen. Sweat poured his face despite the night's cold air. He wanted to run, to escape, but his leg felt nailed to the earth. Then suddenly, a corridor pushed. She tied her head as if listening to something unseen. Slowly, she turned backward. The broken window where Bassy clutched. Her eye glowed unnaturally, catching the fainted lantern light. Percy breathed hard. He ducked quickly, braced himself flat against the ground. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest. And then the night air, her voice shuddered out, soft but sharp enough to pierce him. "You cannot stop me." The inspector's blood ran cold. She had not seen him, or had she? The uncertainty in her tone made his body quake. He dared not move until minutes later, when the mortuary door cracked shut again and her footsteps faded into the night. Only then did Inspector Vassy crawl away, shaking, touching his recorder as if they were his holy charm. He knew what he had witnessed would change everything, but he also knew one truth. Ecuador was no ordinary woman, and if he was not careful, the hunter could easily become the prey. Ecuador was taken away in handcuffs that very day. The crowd followed as the police led her through Nkemba Street, some throwing sand at her, others spitting and many wailing. Prophet Anifiok declared it was victory for God. Inspector Bassey felt relief, but deep in his heart, he knew this story was not finished. Although Ecuador was gone, the sweetness of her food did not leave the people. That very evening, men returned home to find their wives had cooked fresh afang, afia efere. The firewood smoke still clutched to their wrapper, angry. "Are we not the ones who warned you? Have you not eaten enough of her pots?" But still the men grumbled. Some pushed their food aside, some sneaked out at midnight, wandering near Nkemba Street as if hoping the puka door would open again. Pots shone and the food smelled rich, but when the men sat to eat, they frowned. It is not the same taste. The soup tastes empty. Where is the sweetness? A few swore they would give anything, anything to taste Hafa one more time. And that was when the elder said, "Behold the cause of sweetness. For it is not every sweetness that frees a man. Some sweetness enslave, some sweetness blind the eyes and beat the soul." Days turned to week. Ikaodo sat in the prison at Ikorekbene Road, silent as stone. Some waiters swore she never touched her food, yet her skin still glowed. Others said they heard her humming in the night, as though stirring invisible pots. The city moved on. but the shadow of her name lingered. People whispered whenever they passed her locked restaurant. Then one morning, the warder went to check her cell. The iron doors was shut, the lock unbroken, but inside the bed was empty. No Eka Udo, no wrapper, no trace. She had vanished. Some say she turned into smoke and slipped through the bar. Some swore they saw her walking by the cemetery that same night, her calabash in hand. Others believe she had died, but the spirit carried her body. Okay, the prison records simply write, missing case unknown. And so the tale of Eka Udo became a warning told by elders,